Hey everybody, Relay here. I just wanted to try to reinstate the weekly Wednesday update and maybe start making more videos every Wednesday. I know it's Friday by the time you're listening to this, but every Wednesday on upcoming deals that are in the game stores on the PC, as well as new developments with different games and maybe new updates or new releases that we should keep an eye out for. So I figured I'd probably try to cover that today and see how that goes, if anybody would maybe appreciate a deal or not. You know, some people I know are in college probably and money's a little tight, so I can even show you a place where oftentimes you can get free games. And yeah, we'll get right into it. So firstly, I'd just like to say that there were a few games that actually kind of stuck out to me, and a few DLCs as well. Notably, Horizon Forbidden West, their new DLC, Burning Shores, which to my knowledge brings the series to Los Angeles, whereas before it was limited to other parts of America. And considering the game's track record and the large fan base, I'm sure they'll do the game justice and make quite the banger of a DLC. Now, moving forward, to me, the biggest game of the night, and I'll try to keep this as brief as I can, but the biggest game of the night was Armored Core 6. I was very much looking forward to it. I was looking for it for a little while, ever since they gave us almost a teaser on their homepage. There was a little period in time where if you clicked on Bandai Namco's homepage, there'd be something about Armored Core on there. And I haven't played that game since the PlayStation 2 days and the PSP days. And so, to be honest, it's amazing to see how it'll function with newer technology. And I'm really, like, hands down, I was so impressed by the trailer. They didn't need any narrations or anything. It kind of set its own tone to not be screwed with. The character design, or the mech design, I should say, they look so menacing. I guess it's also the color scheme that comes into play, the choice shots that they used for the trailer, showing almost like a post-apocalyptic world from solar flare, destruction of the earth. They're setting the tone for the game quite well, and I couldn't be more excited, to be honest. It looks like an incredible game. It's got a lot of potential. Of course, now, unfortunately, it has a whole lot of hype behind it, but I'd like to say that they wouldn't present something like that if they didn't have the capability to live up to Armored Core's name. Now, the thing that grinds my gears a little bit is that I think people are making the hot take that it's Mecha Souls. So most people who probably say this are people who've never ever played the series of Armored Core. The only thing it would have remotely in connection with Dark Souls is the element of difficulty. They're both difficult games, but the similarities pretty much end there. I think if people, especially newcomers to the series who aren't familiar with Armored Core, if they come to this game and they purchase it and they expect it to be like a Souls-like, they're going to be pretty disappointed. Firstly, the combat is so much more fast-paced than Dark Souls, and so the mechanics are also quite different. There's a different arsenal. Obviously, I mean, it's modern, but there's a different arsenal. You can swap out many parts of your mech to be a weapon, to be honest, or to be like a tank structure. There's so many different variations that put it aside from Dark Souls that it shouldn't even be considered in the same category at all. Now, needless to say, the game is incredibly hyped at this point, especially since the Game Awards last night. But man, I gotta be honest, I can't help but to fall into the hype on this one. And because it's Bandai Namco and From Software, the names merit at least some confidence in the hype up. And I know you're saying, oh really, what about Cyberpunk when it came out? You're probably pretty hyped about that. Yeah, to be honest, I was. And, you know, the name at the time, CD Projekt Red, was good. And to be honest, I still liked Cyberpunk when it came out. The problem was obviously the bugs. Everyone had an issue with the bugs, especially on the console. But even if they somehow, you know, managed to leave some bugs behind in Armored Core, I'm sure it'll get a large enough fan base behind it who can understand that sometimes games need polishing after release. And again, this fan base for Armored Core is probably a lot older than anyone who's been around for the Dark Souls, because this is the game that started over 20 years ago almost. I believe the first Armored Core was, let me take a look here. The first Armored Core was in 1997, so that's basically almost 25 years ago now. All that being said, I am ready for Armored Core in 2023, and it almost has me digging up the old Armored Core games just to play them. Now, as for the next DLC that I want to mention, it's of course Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty. So this DLC has been talked about for a little while now, and it's probably been in the makings for about just as long. But essentially, without going into depth too much, because they didn't let too many details slide, it looks like it takes up after the end game sequence of the campaign, or around the end game sequence of the original campaign. And so it seems like you're teaming up with some sort of almost like an FBI agent. I mean, I guess they call it FIA in the game, but it seems like I don't know if it's a protagonist role that you're taking on, but it looks like you're somehow working with like a government agency, and maybe less so like the role of a city outlaw like you were in the original game. So that's pretty much it I wanted to cover for the releases so far. I'm mostly excited for Armored Core 6, but the welcome DLC from both Horizon and Cyberpunk will very much be something I look forward to playing as well. Moving on to the Game of the Year awards. In the beginning, it looked as though God of War Ragnarok was going to win it all. They kept swooping a bunch of different awards, despite only being out for a month now, pretty much. So it was impressive to see how many awards they had accumulated, how much the fan base likes it. Obviously, it's got quite the fan base backing it at this point. But in the end, for the Game of the Year award, Elden Ring took the top place. Now, if God of War Ragnarok were out for a bit longer, maybe 2 months, they might have taken that spot, but I did thoroughly enjoy Elden Ring. I think it was nice to see the full value of a game come into effect. Like, that was a long game, and for those of you who played it, you know. And of course, this isn't the only aspect that makes a game good, but I like the world design. I like the boss fights. To be honest, it was a good game, and I think it does merit the Game of the Year award. Now, lastly, moving on to deals. I want to try to keep you guys in the loop with whatever deals might be going on right now in the PC platform, at least. So Epic Games Store, GOG, the Ubisoft equivalent, and Steam. So taking a look at Epic Games Store, especially for those of you on a big budget, or maybe those of you who might be in college, you don't have a whole lot of money to spend, it's worth noting that Epic Games Store still consistently gives away free games. So if you go on there right now, until December 15th, they're giving away Saints Row 4, Re-Elected, and Wildcat Gun Machine. Now, Wildcat Gun Machine, to my knowledge, looks like some kind of indie kind of third-person shooter, and I've never tried it, but I'm sure it's a fun little game to play around with. And Saints Row 4, it really needs no explanation. It's kind of a game where you basically do whatever you want. You can choose to follow the mission if you want. It's almost like a GTA in a sense. There's also a mystery game that's unlocking in about 6 days, so we'll probably cover that on the next Wednesday update. So those are the 2 free games that they're giving away this week. And heading over to deals on the Epic Games Store. For those of you who like sports games, I'm not a sports game player really, but FIFA 2023 is regular 90 on for $35.99 Canadian, of course. For those of you who like challenge, Sifu is regular 44 on for 30 Canadian, which just for you American viewers means that it'll be even lower in American USD currency. Plague Tale is on $51.99. Most of these prices are in line with Steam. However, FIFA is at a significantly higher discount right now on Epic. Cyberpunk, both on Steam and Epic, is available for $40 now, as opposed to the regular $80. Red Dead Redemption on both platforms as well is on for $26.39, as opposed to the full $80 price tag. And one more game that's worth noting in my opinion would be Tiny Tina's Wonderland, which actually only on Epic Games Store is half off right now. Regular 80 on for 40 Canadian, which is nice. It's a nice deal, and I've heard the game is quite good. A lot of people like it, so I figured I'd throw it in there. But I think that's mostly all that's worth mentioning. Destiny 2 also has the DLC of The Witch Queen, which is on half off at Epic and also on Steam. Assassin's Creed Valhalla is on for $26.40 on Steam and pretty much the same on Epic Games Store. Hades is also 50% off at $14.49 Canadian on the Steam Store, and again the same on Epic Games Store. Resident Evil Village is available on the Steam Store for $24.99 as opposed to the regular full price. And I think that'll pretty much wrap up the deals on games for this weekly Wednesday update. Now, one more thing I want to note is the recent update that came to Elden Ring. For those of you who like to play that, it's very much worth checking out. There have been a few more weapon balances, and they've established a few coliseums around the map where you can just do PvP. There are a few different PvP selections. I believe it's team versus team, player versus player, and there's a special mode that allows summoning as well for those of you who want to summon. But it'll be an interesting thing to check out. So for now, that's about it. Hope you guys liked it. Comment if you have any questions, and take her easy.